I was sent this glue gun by this company called Monvic. I guess they've watched my YouTube videos and see that my glue gun is always toppling over, so they've sent me this and asked me to use it and give my honest review, which I'm going to do. So I know I'll be doing a lot of fasting today, so I decided to try it out. Where you can switch it to 100 or 60 watts. It also has a stand. It also came with these finger protectors. Glue stick. They've also sent me a wire cutter. Alright, so that's that for this. This DIY is a part of the Gingerbread House DIY open playlist, which is being hosted by Tammy and Jackie. I'll leave the link to their channels and the playlist in the description box below. All right, I'm gonna be using this Kodak Cake Power Cakes empty box for my gingerbread house. And what I did, I took a sheet of plain paper. I traced out the door and the windows. This is 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, and this is 2 inches by 2.25 inches. You can do whatever you want to do if you decide to recreate this. You can make it bigger or smaller. So I'm just gonna trace this out, and I'm tracing because it's quicker. And I'm gonna be driving the car as I change the wheel, if you know what that is. Meaning I am going to be making this gingerbread house as I go along. I have an idea as to what I want it to look like, but to say give you step by step, I'll have to do that as I go along, and you'll just see what I'm doing. Alright, so now we have that traced out. Now I'm not gonna cut all the way down, I'm gonna leave this space like just to anchor it. Now for this part, I'm gonna take off. Now I've been into my Dollar Tree so many times, and I have never seen, I know they have the gingerbread house panels there, or plaques, not sure what they're called, but I know they have them, but I've never yet seen one. So I'm just using my empty box to make my gingerbread house. All right, so this is already a house. So what I'm doing, I'm just gonna measure the distance of the box. This is 7.5, so I know that half of that would be 3 3/4, which would be right there. I know want my roof to start round about right here. Let me see how the measurement is for that. That's like 3 1/4. So I know I want my roof to start there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect the lines right here, 3 1/4 right there, and then I'm going to connect that. I'm going to do the same thing at the back. We measured 7.5, so we know that 3 1/4 would be the halfway point, and then we have 3 1/4 here and 3 1/4 here, and then we just connect the dot. It's so crazy how we're doing gingerbread house at the beginning of October and playing Christmas songs, but this challenge is just to encourage you and give you inspiration so that in the event you need to build a house for the winter season, you're all set. So here we have our box now with our roof. So I cut some strips of brown paper, and I'm gonna soak this in some diluted Mod Podge and decoupage the box just to cover it rather than to paint it. So here I'm just showing you how I had this brilliant idea of using these rose petals that I got in a bouquet some time ago. Since the flowers is withering, let me try and use that for my gingerbread house. So that is why I introduced that here. However, that attempt failed, which you'll see later on. So here we have diluted Mod Podge. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and do, I don't want to use too much because, as you know, this is cardboard box and I don't want it saturated. So I'm just gonna gently wet the paper in here, making sure I'm covering all the areas that needs to be covered. Also that I'm not saturating it too much with the liquid because, as you know, it's cardboard. So now this is where my epic fail happened. So I'm just gluing down the petals using some Mod Podge, and I thought that this would have been a great idea to use the petals like I said before, but of course that didn't work. But I tried, and I thought that trying a little further would have, made it better, but it in fact didn't. So I just decided to go another route by using paper towel. Now, as you can see, I tried with just the brown paper, then the petals, and now I'm going in with some paper towel. I don't believe I said hello at the beginning, but if you are visiting my channel for the first time, welcome, and welcome back to my awesome subscribers. So after I was done adding the paper towel, I am now going to be making the roof. So I took some medium-sized craft stick that I got at Walmart. So I measured the roof just to make sure I know how wide I need to cut the sticks. And then here I am just transferring that measurement to the stick, and then I'm gonna cut. So I cut the tips of 7 of the sticks, laid them down, and then use 2 other pieces of stick to anchor them, and I did two sets. And here I'm just measuring, laying them on top of the roof just to make sure that they're fitting correctly. And then I went in and used my sharp tool to cut the windows out. Now, as you can see, I should have done this in the beginning, then I would not needed to have decoupaged the box. I could have just gone straight to the brown paper, but I wasn't thinking. So here what I did, I took a piece of brown paper and I measured the box 4 sides on the paper, and then I traced or cut that out. Here I'm just rolling the paper on the opposite side to get rid of those folds because it was very hard to work with. And this came from the roll at the Dollar Tree. So I laid the paper down on the box and pinned the tip of the roof with one of those little pins. And when I was satisfied that I got it fitted together, I used some hot glue to hold the ends down. You see, where I was born, we don't build gingerbread houses. We don't have snow. We don't have reindeers. So all of this is a new challenge to me, and I was happy to accept it. All right, so now we're ready for the door and the windows. So what I did, I took a craft stick and I cut them down to the measurement of the door as well as the windows. And then I'm going to glue them on with some hot glue. So just a reminder of the playlist. Don't forget to check out the host channels, which is Tammy from Happiness Created and Jackie from Crafting in Mimi's World, as well as the playlist in the description box. So what I'm doing here, I just took a piece of the brown paper and I'm going to trace out the windows and the door, and use a piece of this craft stick to and here there was still a little gap at the top, so I just cut down another piece of the craft stick and fill those holes. Here I am going to cut down another piece of the craft stick and just to glue at the tip of the roof, and that is just to anchor it when I place the roof on top of it. And now what I decided to do with the roof was to use some Waverly Antique Wax with damp baby wipe, and I just used that to stain the top of the roof, and then I'm going to be gluing that on. But before I did that, I took a piece of paper, another piece of brown paper, cut down the measurement of the window, and used some of this Waverly chalk paint in ivory. And I'm painting at the top of the window or the top of the paper, which would give an appearance of light coming through. And when that was dried, I glued it on. Now I changed my glue gun to the smaller one because the bigger one was not fitting inside the box properly. All right, so I took a piece of foam board and I measured the space at the top of the tip of the roof, and I'm just tracing out lattice, not sure if that's what it's called, cutting it down to size, and then I'm gonna glue that on. And now that I glued that on, it's now time to fit the roof. So I am gluing the roof on, and that space right in the middle, I'm gonna cut down a piece of craft stick and glue that on top just to cover that area. Now we are looking at a different angle. So I had this piece of Chanel stem, that's the only piece of red I have, and this roll of cord that I got at the 79-cent store. So I rolled both pieces together to get my candy cane, and I glued that at the top of the windows. I also took a piece of this holly, which I also got at the 79-cent store, cut a piece down with 3 of the wild berries on there, and I glued that on the door as my wreath. So now it's time to make my chimney. So I took one of those little small wooden cubes as well as a piece of the craft stick and cut those down to size and glue them onto the cube. In order for it to fit on top of the roof, I had to cut it at an angle and glue the 4 pieces on, and then glue that on top of the roof. So now that I've glued the chimney on, it's now to embellish this little house a little bit more. I had this piece of cardboard. What I did, I made sure that it was wide enough to fit the house on top, and then I cut that out. And then once I placed the house on top and it was even, I added some hot glue and glued it down. Now this window cling I got from Dollar General. I thought that it would have been good to add those snowflakes, but once I put that first one on, I realized it was too dark. So I abandoned that idea. I then took the balance of the twine and the Chanel stem that I had made earlier, the candy canes, and made 2 small candy canes and add those to it. Now this false snow that I picked up at the dollar store, and I'm using some Mod Podge, which I think would have worked well. However, the Mod Podge started drying faster than I could get the snow on there. So I just used what I had, and I added it to around the house as well as the rooftop. So I got this little reindeer sleigh and these 2 small Christmas trees from the 79-cent store last year, and this candy cane as well. So I added those as decor, and also these small pine cones, I glued those on. And I just decided to stop here because I had had enough. So I left this overnight, and guys, I found my caulking and I went to town. However, this is not the squeeze tube. So of course, it was very challenging to do that. I ended up piercing the bottom and cutting off the excess to get some of the caulking out. But I got it done. I also found some spray glue and I sprayed that and glued the snow on. It's always good to set aside your project sometimes, sleep on it, and then before you know it, things that you didn't think about the day before came to you the next day. So that's what happened with this. I found the spray and I found the caulking, and I was able to get this done. So here I'm just adding extra snow to the house. I found a piece of Christmas twig from last year and made 2 small wreaths for the windows. And we're done. Now here we have it, guys. I am so proud of how it turned out. I did not envision that it would have taken me so long, but it did, and I'm happy with how it turned out. Let me know in the comments what you think of my gingerbread house. If you like content like this, please consider subscribing to my channel by hitting that subscription button and that notification bell so YouTube notifies you whenever I upload a new video. And to keep watching, I recommend this video right here as well as this playlist. And stay safe until next time.